word today, Tommy Turner.
Thank you. I had some notes today, but I took off and left them. But as I was preparing for this, it amazed me. It's not only is it an honor for me to be asked to come here and speak, it's nothing short of a miracle. Matter of fact, not just one miracle. It's nothing short of a complete series of miracles to get me to where I had nowhere to look but God. And then another series of miracles to get me out of that place. And then a series of miracles to bring me here today. But as I was preparing for this, it amazed me, and I realized that not only did I honor this day, but that God honored this day too. Because we couldn't have timed it out that perfect. Because if you've been involved in the study, y'all are doing 1 Corinthians, right? So we finished chapter 12 last week, which is a story about, or a chapter dedicated to spiritual gifts. Next week, we will be doing 1 Corinthians chapter 13, a chapter dedicated to love. I mean, that has to be God that pause in between spiritual gifts and love to honor a man who has dedicated several nights of his life for years and years and years to go in and bring the light of the world into one of the darkest places ever. Larry Cope has spent 50 years in jail ministries, right? And you know how many men love you, Larry Cope. I'm one of them. I'm definitely one of. I profited from Larry Cope's ministry into the jail. Without going too much into it, I would just say that I was a drug addict and a criminal for most of my life. So I spent a lot of my life in and out of jails and prisons, and that's how I met Larry Cope. So I heard this joke again here the other day. It says this man is sitting at home and the storm's coming, and he ain't got no way to leave. This man pulls up on a four-wheeler and says, "Hey man, the storm's coming. If you'll hop on, I'll carry you to safety." And he says, No, God's got me. So it starts raining, storming. The next day, he's up on his roof. A guy pulls up on a boat. He says, "Hey man, jump in. I'll carry you to safety." He says, No, God's got me. So it keeps raining, storming. The next night, he's on top of his chimney. Like it's about over with, and a helicopter pulls up over him. And they drop the ladder. And he says, "Hey, grab a hold of the ladder. We'll fly you to safety." He says, "No, God's got me." And so it keeps raining. Of course, the man drowns. And he gets to heaven. He says, "God, what happened? I thought you had me." He said, "You know what? I sent a four-wheeler, a boat, and a helicopter." But so I'm from Hazel Green, Alabama. My name is Tommy, the Chicken Hawk Turner. Looking back on my life, I can see God's hand and the way He moved me. And now, at the time, I thought some things were cursings that turned out to be some blessings. God brought me from Hazel Green all the way here to Decatur, Alabama, where I knew nobody. And I didn't have a clue why. But God was speaking into my life. He was whispering. He was trying His best to lure me in without much damage. But, of course, I'm doing all I can to ignore it. I'm running. I'm just trying to get away because I want to do what I want to do, not what He wants me to do. Because I need that in my life. So the road ran out from my little running journey. It was January 2015. I was picked up on some pretty serious charges. I found myself in the Morgan County Jail. Now, my third day there, they wake me up because I'm still asleep. And they say, "Hey, your public pretender's here to see you." And I thought, man, the third day here, my lawyer's already here to see me. I like this county already. And I get up there. They put me in this little room. He comes in. He says, Mr. Turner, do you know what you have done? I said, well, yeah, I know. He said, I don't think you do know. He said, you got a serious case right here. He said, you have 2 enhancements on you. The first enhancement, because you had a gun, gives you a 20-year minimum. So they can't sentence you to anything under 20 years. He said, the second enhancement is because it was a pharmacy. That bars you from probation, parole, or suspended sentence. That means whatever the judge gives you, and it's going to be at least 20 years, you're going to do every day of it. And I thought, oh, no. He drops the bomb. He said, I could have got you less time if you had killed somebody. And I thought, man. Then he just gets up, turns around, and walks off. And here I am. I just got the scariest news of my life. I'm in this little bitty room all by myself. And something begins to happen. What happened was I felt my heart start beating. My stomach jumped up in my throat. My spirit came alive. After studying and studying and studying and listening, what I realized was the feeling that I began to feel right then was called the fear of the Lord. And the fear of the Lord came over me. And for the second time in my life, I heard God audibly speak to me. And the 5 words that he said to me changed my life forever. And it was actually quite funny. He said, can you hear me now? And I thought, yeah. Oh, yeah. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Now, I don't know if anybody in here's ever been in jail, but I've been many times. And there's a couple things that's going to happen. See, I'm out there, I'm working very hard to get to jail. You think it's easy to go to jail? No. We work very hard at it.
You're right.
We work very hard at it. So, I remember the day I got picked up, he put me in the back of the car and he went and checked some things out. And by the time he got back to question me, I was already asleep. I said, are we at jail yet? Wake me up when we get there. So the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to sleep for a week, maybe 2 weeks. And when I wake up, I'm going to be hungry. So here I am, my first time in Morgan County Jail. After about a week and a half, I finally come around. I start to wake up. I'm moving around. I notice 2 things that are different about this jail. The first thing is the atmosphere. It's different. It's lighter. It's more forgiving. It's friendlier. I see more Bibles than I've ever seen in a jail. The second thing I noticed is every now and again some people come around in some plain clothes. They pull guys out. They got them gone for a couple hours and they bring them back. And I thought, what in the world? So I began to ask around. Hey, what is going on here? What's the deal? I run into this guy named Chad. And I started asking him. And this guy got so excited. I never seen somebody so excited to be in jail. And he said, man, you've never been to Morgan County? He said, let me tell you what. This is the only Christ-centered jail in the state of Alabama. He said, these people in plain clothes you see coming around, they're volunteers. They come, they pull people out, they teach them about Jesus. And then when they graduate, they give them a pizza party. Listen, I am starving to death right here. I'm with a hunger that food can't feel. And I said, oh man, yes sir. How do I get in on that? You had me a pizza party. What do we do? Where do I sign up? And he said, well, every now and again they'll come and do some sign-ups. It was a couple nights later. This guy, his name is Bruce Truog. He come around. He's pulling some guys out. Listen, I'm pushing guys out of the way trying to get to the door. I get up there. I said, man, I want to sign up. He looked at me for a minute because looking back, it was pretty rude. He said, I'll tell you what, there's a waiting list for this class. But I'll put you on it. I said, man, put me on it. So I give him my name. I walk away, man. I'm accomplished right here. I'm fixing to eat me some pizza. And I go bragging to Chad. He says, man, you signed up for that class? I said, yeah. He said, that's the longest, hardest class that there is. I said, I got nothing but time. He says, that's the only class that don't give you a pizza party. You know, man, what did you let me do? I said, anyway, I go on. I just, it ain't long that slips my mind. I signed up for some other classes. The first class that I got that actually gives you a pizza party is this class. It's called A Purpose-Driven Life. Rick Warren wrote it. If you have never done the study, it's an amazing book. I would suggest it to anybody who is just starting out, who is grown stagnant, or is in the journey at all. If you love Jesus, it's a good book. But anyway, we were watching these videos, and Rick Warren said something that changed my life. I don't know if I could be quoted on statistics, but he said, did you know that 2% of professed Christians have actually read the Bible? And I said, man, that's horrible. You know, and he said, did you know if you read the Bible for 15 minutes a day, you can read it once a year? Mm-hmm. I thought, man. Then he dropped the bomb. He said, so if you give up one TV show a day, you could read the Bible twice a year. Mm-hmm. Man, I cannot tell you about the conviction that came over me right then. Because God had me take a look back at how many of my years of my life I had wasted sitting on a couch, staring at a TV. Just to not be bored, or just because it was habit, or because it was what everybody else done. And here I am in jail. I got nothing to do but watch TV. But God moved so real in my life right then, because I'm in such a state of panic that is actually the day that I gave up watching TV. And I just began to study, and I began to read, and I wanted to know what God had for me. And so I've been studying reading for a few months. I asked around about some people, and this guy, he gave me some good direction about how to begin to read, where to start, you know, how to study, how to take it in. And what I realized then is that God always put the perfect person at the perfect time, with the perfect advice, with the perfect words. And God had always prepared my heart perfectly for the moment that I was going into. I started to see God's timing in things, and how that God always showed up perfectly in my life and in the lives around me, even though a lot of times it didn't look like it. God was being very loud in my life at this season. So anyway, I was reading one night, and I'd been reading for about 3 or 4 months. I came to the book of John, and I read some famous verses that you always hear quoted. And I said what I thought was a very bold prayer. I said, God, if you will bless me with a notebook so that I can write some of this stuff down, I will continue to study this. I will memorize it, and I will do my best to live my life by what is in your word. So this must have been a Wednesday night, because the next night was Thursday. Listen, they come around, they're pouring for a class. Now, I haven't signed up for it, so I'm good. And they get to the door, and they call my name. And I go to the door, and I said, listen, I didn't sign up for this class. And this is the first time I ever met Larry Cope now. He looks at his whole list, and he looks at me, and he says, well, you did sign up because you're on the list. You signed up months ago, matter of fact. I thought, oh, yeah. This is the longest, hardest class that there is. The one that don't give you a pizza party. I said, you know what? No, thank you. I don't want to go. Then Larry Cole, he's definitely speaking for Jesus this day, because he said, listen, this is a good class. We have fun. We learn about Jesus. Give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't have to come back. You got me there. Because I'm trying to chase some Jesus right now, so let me get my stuff. So I get my stuff, and I'm going into this class, and Michael Bell here, he gets up, he makes his famous speech. Hey guys, if this is your first time in the class, welcome to RU. This is a good class. We learn about Jesus. When you graduate, if you graduate, we're going to give you a certificate. The judges across the street, they love these certificates. I've seen many men be blessed because they took this class. He said, but if you think you're just going to come in here and we're going to give you a certificate, you couldn't be more wrong. He said, see, we got these 4 little workbooks you got to work through, and they got these things in them called challenges. But challenges are easy. All you got to do is memorize some scripture. But that's good because we're going to give you this notebook to help you do that. And I thought, oh man. And you know what echoed in my head right there? Was, can you hear me now? It's like, yes, I hear you. So man, we did some singing. This class, it was like electric. I could tell that right now, in this moment in time, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm thinking that, you know, God has just spoken. I ain't going to hear from him for a while. But then Larry Cope gets up there and speaks. And I remember this message like it was yesterday. What Larry Cope was speaking on was Israel had went captive into Egypt because they had been disobedient. And God sent Moses. Remember the whole thing, let my people go. Yeah. The people eventually get let go pretty forcefully. They go through the Red Sea, and they end up in the desert. And they are mad about it. They're mad about getting set free. They've been walking for 3 days with no water, and they come across this pond of water. But they can't drink this water because it's poisonous. So the people rise up against Moses. And Moses goes and prays to God. And God said, Moses, there is a tree by that pond. If you'll cut that tree down and you'll throw it in the water, then the water will be sweet. You will be able to drink that water. Now, Larry Cope's message was, listen, instead of complaining, just pray to God. But that's not what I heard. See, God whispered to me in that moment, and he said, Tommy, how long has that tree been growing there? He said, Tommy, we ain't talking about a sapling. We're talking about a tree. We are talking about a tree in the middle of the desert. He said, how far ahead of them was I? That brought them to right here. That tree's been growing for years. It takes years for a sapling to turn into a tree. And yet here this tree is right here waiting for them. And I realized that right there in my life, I'm standing at a tree. And I realized how far ahead of me God is. And that night, I got back to my cell, man, and it's been a mind-blowing day. And I'm sitting and I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to work it in. I'm trying to let it get into my subconscious because apparently God is programming me. So, you know, when you're a beginning Christian, you know what you do? You do the little thing I like to call the magic finger. Y'all know what that is? It's just where you flip your Bible open and you stick your finger on a verse. And you know, that's what Jesus had to say to you in that moment in time. It's the first verse I ever memorized. It was Isaiah 65:24. And it said, and it shall come to pass that before they ask, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Man, this verse jumped off me and jumped out of my Bible, this put me in a chokehold and gave me a nuggie. So because I realized that I had signed up 6 months ago for this class. And I prayed for a notebook the night before and get pulled the next night for it. Like God was just waiting for me to ask. Like, how many blessings in my life is God already prepared that I'm about to walk into? He just wants me to communicate with him about it. Anyway, I kept going. I kept studying. He preached many more messages. So I began to read the Bible. And I would read it and I would pray, God, what do you want me to do? See, I'd had this girl that I've been with for 17 years. And God would tell me, I want you to get ready to let her go. Get ready to let her. And I would walk and I would reason within myself for days how I'm about to live life without this girl who has been in my life for so long. And our relationship it was pretty toxic. We've got some pretty bad stuff together. It would take me a week sometimes to figure out how I'm going to do life without her. And I say, okay, God, I'm about to call her and do it. And God would say, don't do it. And a few days later, God would say, get ready to let her go. So I'll prepare myself to break up with this girl and do life without her. Every time that God did this with me, it took a little bit shorter of a time. Until one day, finally, he said, Tommy, get ready to let her go. And I just went straight to the phone, and I picked it up. And God said, don't do it. So by now, I done read some verses. I got a little bit of understanding. I'm ready to do battle. So I go on my cell, and I say, God, the Bible says that you're not the author of confusion. And this is confusing me. So I know what I need to do. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And God said, Tommy, stop. It's just like you. To carry it this far, and right when it's almost done, you give up. And I said, okay. And God said, listen, we won't talk about it anymore. And so I was confused. The day I finished reading the Bible, I got a visit, and I go, and I sat down, and it's my sister. And she says, hey, listen, Tommy, she died this morning. And it was like, man. So I went to my cell, and, I'm brokenhearted, but it could have been so much worse. And what I realized was God had brought me to this jail, and God had worked his way into my life, and God had got me studying that word, and God had built me up, and God had prepared me to do life without this girl so many times that I've already mourned her. So by the time that she died, God had me ready for this moment. And a lot of things made sense. And it just so happened that she died on a Thursday. And I went to RU. And the message he preached was about Elijah calling Elisha. Or Elisha, I don't remember which one called which. But so this prophet, he goes and he calls this other guy who is plowing a field. Right? And he says, hey, come on in. He says, hold on. And he cuts up his plow. And he sacrificed the animals that was pulling the plow. And Larry Cope's whole message was he made sure he had no reservations. He couldn't come back. And I know right then that God had prepared me for that life, and that God had something for me like that she couldn't be with me. Right? And a couple of days later, I come across this psalm. It says, to hear the groaning of the prisoners and to save those who were appointed to die. Right? And I realized that because I was a prisoner, my life had been saved. If I'd been on the street, I would have died with her. So God brought me to the Morgan County Jail to save my life. God brought me to the Morgan County Jail to set me free.
Yeah.
And it was people like Larry Cope that fostered that. So I wonder how many people has been in a place that's so dark that they could not see a way out. Listen, here comes Larry Cope walking through there with the light of the world. I saying, come on, follow me. I wonder how many times Larry Cope was pulled up on a four-wheeler just a minute. I wonder how many times Larry Cope's pulled up on a boat telling me, I'll take you to safety. I wonder how, listen, when Larry Cope found me, he was in a helicopter. He said, come on, Tommy, I'll take you to Jesus. I wonder how many times Larry Cope has been a tree planted in somebody's life. I wonder how many moms can thank Larry Cope for bringing their son to Jesus. I wonder how many kids can thank Larry Cope for their daddy. I wonder how many wives can thank Larry Cope for their husband. And you know what my favorite thing about Larry Cope is? You know how many people Larry Cope has saved? Absolutely none. Larry Cope has never saved a man.
That's right.
Jesus saved each and every one of them. See, Larry Cope, he's humble enough to take a little bit of praise, but he's smart enough to give all the glory to Jesus.
Amen.
Larry Cope has dedicated his life to shining the light into one of the darkest places ever. To preaching freedom to the people who are captive. To preaching the opening of the prisons to those who are locked up. Listen, what I found out, though, is that some of the people in jail are some of God's most called people. And they feel the void the biggest. But what they've done is shove the world trying to fill up that void. Right? And why God forgives them for that, some of those things they're trying to shove in that thing is illegal. Some of them are felonies. And why Jesus forgives them, the state of Alabama don't. So listen, they put them up in this little place, and God sends in Larry Cope right here. So this is a man who has done nothing more than submit and preach the freedom to the people who are captives. Listen, Larry Cole, I know that you're very instrumental in my growth. You're very instrumental in me being here today. And if you hadn't been humble enough and submissive enough to Jesus to get on a helicopter that day and drop me that ladder, I don't think that I would be here. Listen, I hope that you can continue to do what you've been doing. I hope that it continues to bring you joy, and I know that it blesses your heart. And I want you to know that a lot of families are very thankful for what you do, Larry.
Thank you.
Listen, we love you, and let's give Larry a round of applause.
Yeah.
Tim.